Most men I know are not lazy. They wake up early. They skip dessert. They take the stairs instead of the elevator. And they still cannot get rid of the fat sitting around their stomach. And the worst part? Nobody can explain why. Your doctor tells you to eat less and move more. The internet tells you to try keto, try fasting, try cutting carbs. You try all of it. Some of it works for 3 weeks. Then your body just stops responding. The fat comes back. And slowly, quietly, you start believing that maybe this is just how your body is. Maybe this is just aging. Maybe some people are built to stay lean and you are not one of them. I am here to tell you that belief is wrong. And the proof comes from a place most people never think to look. Before we go further, tell me in the comments right now, which country are you watching from? I genuinely want to know where this is reaching. And if this channel has been useful to you, help us hit 1,000 subscribers. We are close, and every single subscriber matters to us. Now let me show you something that completely broke my understanding of how fat loss actually works. There is a population on this planet, modern, urban, connected to the same global food supply as everyone else, where adult obesity sits at under 5%. Compare that to most developed nations where the number has crossed 30, sometimes 40%. And the shocking part is not the number itself. The shocking part is what these people eat. White rice, every single day, multiple times a day, carbohydrates at every meal, no calorie counting, no macro tracking, no structured workout programs. And they stay lean, generation after generation, into their 70s, their 80s, some into their 90s. We are talking about Japan, and a global study that examined dietary patterns across 132 countries found something that researchers could not explain away. The closer a country's population ate to the traditional Japanese pattern, the lower its obesity rate. Full stop. And this finding held even after controlling for income levels, physical activity, healthcare access, and genetics. The food itself was producing the difference. So the real question is, what exactly is in that food that the rest of the world is missing? Because whatever it is not fewer calories. And it is not some genetic gift that only Japanese people are born with. When Japanese people move abroad and adopt a Western diet, their obesity rates rise within 1 generation to match their new neighbors. The biology changes with the food, which means the food is controlling the biology. And that is exactly what I want to break down for you today. Here is the thing most people do not understand about their own body. Your body is not a simple machine where you put in less fuel and it burns the stored fuel. It does not work like that. Your body is more like a company with thousands of employees working simultaneously, each one responding to signals, each one following instructions. And the biggest signal center in your entire body is not your brain. It is your gut. Right now, sitting inside your digestive system, there are roughly 38 trillion microorganisms, mostly bacteria, that are actively deciding how your metabolism runs. They influence how hungry you feel 1 hour after eating. They influence whether incoming calories get burned for energy or packed away as fat. They influence how much inflammation runs through your bloodstream. And they influence a type of fat that most people have never even heard of, visceral fat. This is the fat that does not sit under your skin where you can see it and pinch it. This is the fat that wraps around your internal organs, your liver, your kidneys, your intestines. You can have a relatively flat stomach on the outside and be carrying dangerous levels of visceral fat on the inside. And this fat is not passive. It is metabolically active. It pumps inflammatory chemicals called cytokines directly into your blood around the clock, quietly driving insulin resistance, quietly damaging your cardiovascular system, quietly setting the stage for serious health problems that will not announce themselves until they are already advanced. The traditional Japanese diet does something extraordinary to this entire system. It does not fight your biology. It feeds your biology exactly what it needs to run the way it was designed to run. And it does this through specific foods, eaten in a specific way, that most of the world has either never tried or never understood. Let me start with the most powerful one, and I will warn you up front. Most people's first reaction to this food is to immediately say no. It is called natto. It is soybeans fermented with a strain of bacteria called Bacillus subtilis. The fermentation process gives it a sticky, almost stringy texture and a very strong, pungent smell. It is an acquired taste even for many Japanese people. But here is what it does inside your body that makes it worth every bit of that adjustment period. Research published in the Journal of Molecular Nutrition and Food Research found that regular natto consumption produced measurable reductions in visceral fat, and the relationship was dose-dependent, meaning the more consistently it was consumed, the more visceral fat disappeared. The study also found that natto suppressed the liver's fat-producing activity while simultaneously accelerating fat breakdown. These are not small effects. These are the exact two biological levers you need pulled if you want to get rid of deep abdominal fat. Now here is why natto works so much better than just eating regular soybeans. Raw soybeans contain compounds that actively block your digestive enzymes from accessing the nutrition inside them. They are, in a sense, locked. Fermentation unlocks them completely. It breaks down those blocking compounds, frees up isoflavones that your body can actually absorb, generates an enzyme called nattokinase, and delivers living bacillus bacteria that survive your stomach acid and arrive in your intestines alive and active. That last point matters enormously. Your gut's bacterial ecosystem, specifically the balance between two major bacterial families called Bacteroidetes and Firmicutes, has a direct relationship with body fat levels. Decades of obesity research have shown that excess body fat consistently correlates with a specific imbalance in this ratio. Natto corrects that imbalance. And when the bacterial environment corrects, the metabolic consequences follow. 50 grams daily. One small traditional pack. Mix it with soy sauce and a small amount of mustard. Eat it in the morning with rice. Frozen natto from Asian grocery stores works just as well as fresh. The bacteria fully reactivate after thawing. Now I want to tell you about something inside your own body that you have probably never heard of, because understanding this completely changes how you think about burning fat. You have two different types of fat tissue. White fat is the kind everyone knows. It stores excess energy. It accumulates around your waist and organs. It is the fat you are trying to lose. But you also have brown fat. And brown fat is biologically the opposite. Instead of storing energy, brown fat burns energy. It generates heat through a process called thermogenesis, and the fuel it uses is white fat. When your brown fat is active, your body is literally burning its own stored fat to produce warmth. Here's the problem. In most adults, brown fat is largely switched off. The mechanism exists, but it is dormant. And one of the most potent natural activators of brown fat ever studied is a compound called EGCG, found in high concentrations in Japanese matcha green tea. A systematic review published in the journal Nutrients, examining 10 controlled studies, confirmed that the catechins in matcha upregulate a protein called UCP1, the precise molecular trigger that activates brown adipose tissue and starts the thermogenic fat-burning process. And here is the detail that I find most compelling. Researchers tested caffeine alone at the same dose and found zero effect on metabolic rate. The effect was not coming from stimulation. It was coming specifically from the catechin and caffeine combination working together to amplify noradrenaline signals, the signals that tell brown fat to start burning. Standard brewed green tea gives you some of these catechins, but matcha delivers up to 137 times more EGCG because you are consuming the entire ground leaf, not just water that is passed through it. 1 to 2 teaspoons of ceremonial-grade matcha powder whisked into water at around 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Not boiling. High heat destroys the catechins. Add fresh lemon juice, which has been shown to increase EGCG absorption significantly by stabilizing these compounds through digestion. And do not add cow's milk. The casein proteins in dairy bind to catechins and block their absorption by up to 80%. Drink it 30 minutes before your largest meal. That timing puts your brown fat in an activated state right when your body is about to process its highest caloric load of the day. There is a third mechanism working underneath all of this, and it is the one that explains why Japanese people do not feel deprived or hungry even when their meals are smaller than what most people in the world are used to eating. It comes down to a molecule called butyrate. The traditional Japanese diet contains extraordinary amounts of fiber from seaweed, from fermented vegetables, from barley, from multiple varieties of root vegetables. When this fiber reaches your large intestine, specific gut bacteria ferment it and produce short-chain fatty acids. Butyrate is the most critical of these. It does two things that matter enormously for fat loss. First, it reinforces the lining of your intestinal wall, preventing inflammatory molecules from crossing into your bloodstream. A breakdown that, when it happens, creates the chronic low-grade inflammation that drives insulin resistance across your entire body. Second, butyrate travels through your bloodstream to your brain and sends genuine satiety signals through what scientists call the gut-brain axis. Not the temporary fullness of a heavy meal that fades in 90 minutes. Actual lasting satisfaction that keeps hunger quiet for hours. A large study tracking thousands of participants found that higher dietary fiber intake independently predicted lower body weight, lower fasting blood glucose, lower triglycerides, and lower inflammatory markers. Even after researchers accounted for total calorie consumption, the fiber was producing metabolic effects that had nothing to do with how much food was eaten. That is a critical distinction. Seaweed delivers something beyond fiber that deserves specific attention. It contains a compound called fucoxanthin, which has been shown in research to target visceral fat through a mechanism that sounds almost too good to be true, but is documented in peer-reviewed literature. Fucoxanthin increases the expression of that same UCP1 protein we discussed, but this time inside white fat cells. It essentially begins reprogramming white fat cells to behave more like brown fat cells, shifting them from energy storage toward energy burning. 5 to 10 grams of dried wakame or kombu added to soups or rice dishes 3 to 4 times per week. Fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines 3 times per week, grilled or baked, never fried. Frying in high heat oils destroys the omega-3 fatty acids that sustain brown fat activity and replaces them with compounds that drive the inflammation you are trying to reduce. Naturally fermented pickled vegetables, small portions daily. Look specifically for brine-fermented varieties, not vinegar pickled, which contain no live bacterial cultures. And replace a portion of your daily rice with a blend of 70% white rice and 30% barley. Barley contains beta-glucan fiber that specifically feeds butyrate-producing bacteria, and microbiome studies have consistently found higher populations of these bacteria in people who regularly consume it. Now let me give you the structure that holds all of this together, because having the right foods is only half of it. The traditional Japanese meal framework: 1 bowl of miso soup, 1 protein source, 2 small vegetable sides, a portion of grain, is not arbitrary. It naturally builds a plate that is high in fiber, diversified in nutrients, moderate in protein, and portion appropriate without any measurement or calorie counting. The volume of water-rich and fiber-dense foods fills your stomach before you can overeat. The meal structure does the portion control for you. Miso must be unpasteurized. Pasteurized miso has the beneficial bacteria killed during processing, and it must be stirred into warm broth after the heat is turned off. Boiling destroys the probiotics entirely. 1 tablespoon in warm water or stock with seaweed and tofu once daily. Spread your fermented foods through the day. Natto in the morning, miso at midday, fermented pickles at dinner, creating a continuous supply of beneficial bacteria rather than one large dose at once. Keep a natural gap of 11 to 12 hours between your last meal of the evening and your first meal of the morning. This is not extreme fasting. It is simply giving your gut microbiome uninterrupted overnight time to do its restructuring work while your body draws on stored energy through the night. And practice stopping when you feel about 80% full. Satiety signals from your gut take roughly 20 minutes to reach your brain. If you stop at 80%, by the time those signals arrive, you feel exactly right. This single habit reduces daily intake by 15 to 20% without any feeling of deprivation. Not because you are restricting yourself, because you are working with your body's own timing instead of eating past it. Here is what will kill your results even if you do everything else right. Inconsistency. Your gut microbiome does not restructure in 5 days. The research is clear that meaningful bacterial population shifts take 4 to 8 weeks of consistent input. If you eat natto for a week and expect to see dramatic changes and quit when you do not, you have not given the biology enough time to work. Consistency is not a motivational concept here. It is the actual mechanism. The second thing that will undermine you is buying supplements instead of whole foods. A natto kinase capsule is not natto. A catechin extract pill is not matcha. When you eat actual natto, you get the enzyme plus the live bacteria plus the isoflavones plus the fiber plus vitamin K2, all of it working together in a biological matrix that cannot be replicated in a supplement. Supplements isolate one compound. Whole foods deliver the entire system. And stop measuring your progress only on a scale. Visceral fat loss and lean muscle gain can happen at the same time, leaving the number on the scale almost unchanged while your metabolic health transforms underneath. Measure your waist circumference once a week. It will tell you far more about what is actually happening inside your body than any scale ever will. Here is the bottom line. You are not broken. Your metabolism is not permanently damaged. The systems inside your body that are designed to keep you lean, a healthy gut microbiome, active brown fat tissue, low inflammation, stable blood sugar, they all still exist inside you. They're just waiting for the right inputs. And those inputs are not expensive, not complicated, and not extreme. They are specific foods, eaten consistently, in a structure that works with your biology. Start with one. Add another the following week. Give it 8 weeks before you judge the results. And measure your waist, not just your weight. Subscribe to the channel if this gave you something real today. Share this with one man in your life who has been fighting this battle and getting nowhere. And drop your country in the comments. I want to know where in the world this is landing. See you in the next one.